all Americans are hurt by uncontrolled illegal migration. It strains public resources and drives down jobs and wages.
A first for Donald Trump tonight, addressing the nation from the Oval Office. But his message, one we've heard from the president again and again, he wants a wall and he wants Congress to pay for it. Here with me tonight, Jay Shubria. He's a Republican strategist. He's in Columbus, Ohio. And Linda Tran is a Democratic strategist, and she joins us from Washington. Before we get into it, let's play a little bit more of the president's speech. Let's start with this little piece here.
Democrats in Congress have refused to acknowledge the crisis, and they have refused to provide our brave border agents with the tools they desperately need to protect our families and our nation. The federal government remains shut down for one reason, and one reason only, because Democrats will not fund border security.
Of course, I mean, there's lots of fact-checking to be done throughout this 9.5 minutes. It is not true Democrats won't fund border security. They just won't fund the wall the way the president wants to. So do you think, Jay, that this was, if the president was trying to win over Americans or sell what he's interested in obtaining, did he do the job there, do you think?
Well, I think two things. Look, remember, there's a lot of us that follow the news every day. We read the newspaper, we follow cable news, and here in America, so we kind of know what's going on, and we think this is the old hat. Nothing new to see here. But what the president was able to do tonight was he was able to go over the media's head and goes directly into people's living rooms and talk to them about the thing that he cared about the most. Whether you agree with the policy, whether you think he's telling the truth or he's got the right facts, he was able to do that, and by doing that, he's able to set the narrative on this budget shutdown.
Okay, well, I mean, yes, he was able to talk to people without a filter, but Linda, that only is successful, I think, if he can manage to convince them that he's on the right end of the argument. How do you think he did on that front?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, Rosemary. I mean, the reality is he was talking to his base. You know, if you look at all the recent polling, the vast majority of Americans oppose the shutdown. The vast majority of Americans blame Donald Trump for the ongoing shutdown. And so what he was trying to do today is play to his base, as he always has, and speak to them directly, preaching to the choir, so to speak. And I assume that all of those folks that are on his side felt reassured by the remarks that he made. But what I would say is most notable about that clip that we just saw is the backdrop itself, the fact that he was making this extraordinarily partisan statement in the Oval Office, which has been, you know, a location that other presidents before him, both Democrat and Republican, have reserved for talking about much larger American ideals and values and needs.
I guess, though, you had to give him a shot. It's his first address from the Oval. You had to see how he was going to use it. Jay, are you surprised that he did not, in fact, call for a national emergency in this instance? That the message was very much the same message that we've been hearing from him in other places? Yeah,
I'm not sure that a national emergency was the right thing for him to call for, to be honest with you. I'm not sure this is the right use for your first Oval Office address. But, you know, look, there's a lot of things that are going on right now in this budget shutdown. Linda's right. Look, they are blaming President Trump on this budget shutdown. And we'll probably have some kind of resolution going forward pretty soon. But the fact of the matter is, the hard part for Democrats is he has framed this as a moral argument. Yes, they probably don't want a wall, but they want immigration reform. They want border security. And he is framing this as a moral problem for the Democrats. And that's going to be the issue for them, because if the wall is really a symbol of immigration reform in this country, and if the Democrats aren't on board there, that's a big problem for them messaging-wise.
Well, and in fact, now he says it doesn't even have to be cement. It can be steel now. So the wall, you're right, is symbolic and changes. I want to play a little bit of Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, because they did get some equal time as well to respond. Here's some of what they had to say.
The symbol of America should be the Statue of Liberty, not a 30-foot wall. So our suggestion is a simple one. Mr. President, reopen the government and we can work to resolve our differences over border security, but end this shutdown now.
I'm not sure anyone came out a winner tonight, but Linda, I wondered if that wasn't fairly effective strategically to say to Trump, we can talk about ways to improve border security, but let's make sure we open up the government and then start talking about that. What is the likelihood that will be acceptable for Republicans or even for the president?
Well, I mean, what Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi both did tonight was point out that Democrats have passed legislation that would open the government so that this conversation could continue and that we could get to some of the specific concerns around immigration policy and border security separately. And both Schumer and Nancy Pelosi were pointing that out today. And I would say what's really striking about everything we've seen tonight in the short remarks that both sides of the aisle delivered was basically the fact that there were no surprises after an administration that so far has been chock full of them. I think that this is going to come to a resolution sometime over the next few days if both sides can get to the table and just, hash this thing out.
Well, Jay, did you think that how the Democrats responded, do you think that that is likely to get the president to bend? Do you think there's a possibility he can save face here if he doesn't, in fact, get the wall?
Look, they'll find some resolution in the coming days. I have no doubt about it. But based on that response, and responses are never easy, but the optics of that particular response, were awful. The two people there standing next to each other, one in silence for minutes, it wasn't the best choice. And then I also question, why would you choose two D.C. insiders to respond to the president when you have all these folks that have just been newly elected to Congress, or someone from the states, someone that could deliver a message that actually that understands where America is? That might have been a better choice here on this response, and that might have had a lot to do with how they responded to the president.
Okay, so if we could just pull back for a minute and explain to Canadians who have been following the shutdown, because there is sort of a spillover effect in this country, and certainly we try and understand it. Did what happened tonight from either side, did that change where they're negotiating from? Did it get either of them closer together? The president also said we can solve this in 45 minutes. Well, if that's the case, why has this been going on for 18 days? Linda?
It depends on how you look at it. I mean, for Donald Trump, again, he's speaking to his base, and what matters to him more than anything else is projecting strength. So for him to be able to get in front of the American people, seated behind the Resolute desk, and to say, listen, it's not me, it's them, and we can get this deal done, really is in line with his brand and probably makes him feel good. Now, whether that is enough for him to feel like if he gets to the table with the Democrats and comes to a resolution and reopens the government, whether that's enough to make him feel good about it, I highly doubt it, but it at least allows him to say, look, I fought really hard. This wasn't about me.
Jay, what do you think?
Well, I think there'll be a way in which both sides will probably be able to claim some victories in the coming days, and they'll be able to open the government back, or at least a partial open some parts of it too. So I think they'll both be able to claim victory, and this speech will be credited with that on both sides.
Or criticized for it, depending
or criticized.
on what side you're coming from. Jay Chevria and Linda Tran, thanks for making time for Canada tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.